Welcome back to another edition of 68 Shining Moments presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Today, we have AJ Guyton and Keith Smart talking about the shot that he hit in the 1987 national title game.
What was the turning point in that season? I talked to Isaiah, talked to a couple other players that had championship runs, man. What was that moment during that 86-87 season where you was like, all right, we got one. We on the way?
Well, we started off playing well, got off to a great start, the pre-games that we had, and then got into the season, and then we got ranked number one in the country.
Oh, okay.
And we go to Vanderbilt to play. Had just gotten ranked number one in the country. Go to Vanderbilt to play, and we got beat at Vanderbilt, right? And so coach was on us about losing that game, about a certain couple players on that team that we had never heard of, but they had great games against us, and we lost that one, and then we took off and started and won the next couple games. And then we just kept winning and kept winning and kept winning. What Coach Knight was saying to the media was that this is not a very good basketball team right here. This is not a good team. You guys are getting all enamored with this team and think that they're this, but they're not. So it kept the outside expectations.
Yeah, exactly, yep.
But inside that locker room, he was saying, guys, if we keep doing this, we got a chance to play for a national championship. We have gone now beyond the Big Ten championship because now he thinks this team now has a chance, a legitimate chance. And, of course, still fighting through the Big Ten to try and get out of there. Didn't have a Big Ten tournament at that time. Yeah. So we're still fighting to fight for this seeding. And then the first round for us was right there in Indianapolis.
Right.
So that was a huge stepping stone for us having a chance. But the team started coming together, and eventually everyone fell into their roles. We had a stretch where we played Northwestern, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and we weren't playing good basketball, but we found a way to win. And in those games, you had other players that stepped up and played big in those games. And so we knew we had gone through the toughest portion of not playing against the elites of the Big Ten, but playing against that second tier of teams. And we struggled, but yet we found a way to win.
Right. Yeah.
And from there, we start to see it all come together. And again, the team got along well with each other, but we still hadn't have a feeling yet of we're on track to win a national championship. But Coach also mentioned that he felt that it would be us, North Carolina, NC State, us, North Carolina, and Syracuse. He thought would be there. Didn't know how that was going to all shape out.
Right, yeah.
But he thought those were some of the best teams in the country based on their personnel. And several of those teams got there, but he thought we were on that level of being able to play with those guys.
Man, y'all dismantled Fairfield, Auburn, Duke. But the game that stuck out to me was a 1-point win against LSU, knowing that you're from Louisiana.
Right.
What happened in that game at the end of that game to make it a 1-point lead, and how was that special for you?
Well, all of a sudden you're playing against a lot of those guys we played at that sports academy. They would come over and pick up basketball. So I played with those guys. I knew one of the players, Ollie Brown, was my high school coach's son. So I knew all those players over there. So what better bragging rights it would be to go back home in the summertime and you have beaten LSU.
And go to the Final Four.
Go to the Final Four. And Dale Brown was, when I started being recruited, and everyone said, why aren't you going to LSU? And I said, wait, they didn't recruit me, And he just felt that, he's a good player, but he's not, a player that we would have here at LSU. Right. And of course, all of those things, you start to put it together in a basket,
Amazing.
That drove you there. And of course, we got in that game and started playing real well. And then the game went back and forth. I had a good friend of mine from Baton Rouge, Nikita Wilson, the center there.
Yeah.
And he was just, hard to handle. He had very quick moves for a big man at that time. And we got through the game. There was another player named Fess Irving. I remember tying the ball up with him. And of course, I had these real long arms, And so I was behind him, and I was able to reach around him and tie the ball up for a jump ball without touching him.
Really?
And I didn't touch him, but we got a jump ball. So I never touched him. I moved around. I don't know what made me think don't put your body up against him because they may call a foul for reaching around him. I was able to wrap the ball around him. He was a smaller point guard, and then get that jump ball, which became a possession for us. And we
definitely.
The possession during that time, and that kind of put us over the hump to get back to go to the Final Four.
Was Chris Jackson on that team?
No, he came later. He
came
later.
after. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Before we continue that interview, I have to let you guys know that it's that time of year again. We waited 2 years for this moment, and it's finally here. March's biggest tournament is back. Gonzaga is getting ready to run the table. Slippers are being fit as we speak, and our partners at DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook, are putting our listeners at the center of the action. How? If you bet $4 on an underdog in a select game this week, and that underdog wins, you win $256. That's right, $256. Here's how it works. Download the app now and use the promo code FIELD68 when you sign up. Scroll through the list of select underdogs, bet $4 on them to win, and cash $256 when they do. There's no better way for you to put your college hoops knowledge to use than to put your money where your mouth is with DraftKings Sportsbook. It's safe, it's secure, it's reliable, and you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. So remember, the code is FIELD68. That's FIELD68 to turn $4 into $256. For a limited time only, must be 21 years or older. Restrictions apply. Go to DraftKings.com for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
I was talking, and you guys go to the Final Four, you beat UNLV, then you have a date with Syracuse, man. I was talking to Chris Reynolds yesterday about, we was talking about the Fab Five, and he was joking. He was talking about, hey, man, you look on the floor, you got Jalen Rose, you got Juwan Howard, you got, Ray Jackson, Jimmy King, and Chris Webber, and you look at us, we got Todd Leary, we got these dudes, but because of Coach Knight, we always felt like we had a chance to win. And I felt that way as well. We go into battle with some big guys, and we don't have draft picks. You guys had Sherman Douglas, Derek Coleman, Ronnie Cycli, you line up, but yet, you come out victorious. What was the game plan against that? Derek Coleman is one of the top 100 basketball players ever. Cycli was a great big man. Sherman was a really underrated good guard, man. But what was that game plan for you guys that enabled you to stay in the game with an opportunity to win?
And just what you said, obviously having Coach Knight there, but I think also the style of play of how we played. When we played UNLV, and when we came down to the Final Four, a lot of these teams got there early. Some there were a week before the tournament, 5 days before the game, and we got there the day before. We treated it like a normal travel-in day, the day before, play the game tomorrow, then fly out. And so I think that approach of who we were as the Indiana basketball team played out, and then how the style of play that we had. But when UNLV said, well, they haven't played against a press like we press. And Iowa presses.
Yeah, all the time.
We'd already been through that. And of course we ran. They didn't think that we were going to be a running team. And we ran, and we had a great game in there. And I think for me, each one of those steps, there was a player that I knew from high school. Gerald Patio played for UNLV, knew him. And I think that gave me that little edge of wanting to play good against him and that particular team. And then obviously getting to the Syracuse game, we figured our style of play, how we played. And I tell you, man, maybe I just don't remember, but we never talked about the importance of this game or that. We just focused on, Coach just kept us focused, on what we need to get done.
Right.
How make a pass, make the cut, defend without fouling. And so we never preached about the opponent. And it's almost like the John Wooden concept was to focus totally on you.
Yeah.
So much on the opponent, because let the coaches do that. But don't get the players enamored with focusing so much on the opponent when you need to be focusing on you. Because when you trying to compete against another team, they do what they do, and you can't simulate that.
Right.
But you can simulate everything that you have done and do as a basketball team.
Absolutely.
And what the focus was focusing on those things, on what we were doing, set the cut up, backdoor when you have opportunities, things like that. That was the focus. And I think when we got into that game, we just looked at it as just another team that we're playing. And when Coach Knight put us in the right positions to do certain things, and he allowed us to play the game. That was it.
Absolutely. Hey man, so you score. You didn't have a great first half, but you were foul trouble maybe, and you come out. You score 17 in the second half, and
Right.
you galvanize the team, get them back into the game with 28 seconds left, down one, and
Mhm.
Derek Coleman at the line. Isaiah told a story on the pod about how he was like, "Oh, okay, this is that moment where I get to see the genius of Coach Knight. He finna draw up this awesome play, and we about to win this game." But he said he went to the bench, and Coach Knight really didn't say anything. And it was just basically like you said, let's move the ball, let's take the best shot. What happened when you guys went into the huddle with Coach Knight, and what did he say? Did he draw up anything? Did he say anything?
And here's the beauty of all of that. That first half I didn't play well, and then I didn't score. I think I scored 4 points. I scored the first bucket, free throw. 2 free throws. I scored the first points. I didn't play particularly well. Then Coach Knight took Steve out for his rest time, and I think he wanted me to get more assertive, and I didn't. For whatever reason, I didn't do it. And so we finished it up by 1. Steve made a shot right before halftime, and we go up by 1 to halftime. And then we come back in for the second half, and we started playing in the second half. And I get on, God bless his soul, but my buddy Daryl Thomas, I saw where he was going to be cutting, but then he got bumped by Coleman and got held up.
Yeah.
And I made a pass where I thought he was going to go, and the ball sailed out of bounds. And that's when Coach Knight subbed me in the game. Right. And so I figure, okay, I'm out of the game. I don't know when I'm coming back. So there's a story. Here's a story. So we're in this game. Joby Wright is talking to him, said, "Keep," and back then they just called me Kiefer. That was what Joby called me, Kiefer. Keep your head in the game. You're going to get back in. Keep your head in the game. Then the teammates were all saying the same thing. Keep your focus. Keep your head in the game, man. You're going to get back in. You're going to get back in.
Right.
So I was down in my seat, sat down, and I figured, this thing was going to be done, And as the game started to go back and forth and everything, and then Syracuse made a run and got up, Coach Knight called me and said, "Hey, Smart." And so I go down to his seat, sat down next to him. He said, "You ready to go back in?" I said, "Yes, I'm ready to go back in." He said, "Now I'm telling you, if you go in and you haven't done anything in 2 minutes, I'm going to take you out the game." So I said, "All right." And then he goes, "And if I take you out the game, I'm probably not putting you back in."
Right.
I go, "All right." And he said, "And if I don't put you back in, I don't know what's next." And so what people don't realize, I was playing for my scholarship that night.
That's why you jumped so high on that pull-up.
And look, after that, man, I went back in the game and said, "Look, I'm not going back over here. I'm going to do what I need to do in this game." But it was, again, another way of how he motivated me to engage myself back into the game. All that stuff saying he wasn't going to do any of that stuff, Yeah. But he got me thinking that I need to go out and play with a purpose. And that purpose was me playing how I played in that game and got us back into it with a chance to win the game.
Yeah, it sounds like you found out a way to push your buttons.
That was it.
Learning you over the years is like, if I say this to Keith, I know I'm going to get a different Keith.
I'm going to get a different Keith. It went back to that earlier time period that I told you about when he said, "I was waiting for you to step up."
Exactly.
And that was something that he another way that he found to motivate me. And he did it in the calmest of manner. I look at some pictures that were taken at that time, and it was him talking to me on the bench, and everyone was saying, "Well, he's probably chewing him out."
Yeah,
but
right.
It was so calm. Now, if I don't, and if you don't do anything these next 2 minutes,
exactly.
Out,
I can hear it too.
It was that motivation that kind of got me going, and then the game opened up. And then AJ, I tell you, man, I've told this story many times. It went back to Nicholson Elementary, the school that I played a lot of basketball on, and would go over there. It was my sanctuary to go play and get away from everything that was going on around us. And we would always shoot a shot at the end of playing pickup ball, falling out of bounds, a jump shot. Always do it. Because in our high school,
2-1.
2-1. Count it down. The cheerleaders were always on the baseline, shoot a shot and fall over into their arms. And so that time, as we started moving into that moment, I had already played that game. And I tell you, man, from a psychological standpoint, you talk about a zone. I'm sure you've been in one before where you don't hear anything.
Yep.
You don't see, everything is in slow motion. And I was in this particular moment where everything was moving slow. And
Yes.
I'm playing this game, so I saw all the passes. I saw the shots that would need to be taken. But it all started way back there at Nicholson Elementary. But it also, as I'm into this game, suddenly I got into this zone. And literally everything slowed down for me. And I was able to make all the right decisions as we got ready for that moment.
It's crazy that you say that, man, because I don't remember crowds in most of my games. I would say 98% of the games. I don't. People used to say we used to yell and chant, and we used to have this. I said, man, only person I would look up and I would say my mom made it.
You knew where they were. Yeah.
I'll see if she made it. And when she made it, I said, I'm good. But other than that, I don't. Now I see people, gesturing to the. I know we the old heads now. But I see them gesturing. I'm like, how could you be thinking about that? I was always thinking about next play. What's next? What's next? And that's amazing. That's amazing that you say that. So you have the basketball. I can see you handling that ball. You looking, but you're looking for Steve.
Right.
Steve coming off screens on the baseline. He's caught up. You hit, I think it was Daryl Thomas, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like when you hit him, you like, oh shoot, I shouldn't have threw that. And you went back to get it. When something happened, he ended up throwing it back to you anyway, because he knew he wasn't supposed to have it. So take us to that last play before you elevated and hit that shot, man.
Well, I tell you, when as we got down to that moment, you talked about a timeout. We didn't call a timeout.
Okay. So
we never got in that position and I know from coaching now, sometimes when you call a timeout for a particular play, players will have a tendency to look at only what you talked about.
Yes, yeah, true.
They won't look at the whole picture of what will the defense. And as you know, our motion offense was revolved around you making the right play when the right play needed to be made. So what was available, that's what you went with. So as we came down the floor and got ready into the motion part of it, again, the time is ticking and people's like, are they going to get a shot off? Will they get a shot off? But we're not thinking that way. We didn't rush anything. We stayed into motion, watched Steve ran his routes. He wasn't open,
routes.
Run routes, man. That's what he was doing, man. And he did his thing. He wasn't open. We didn't try to force a pass to make a play to him. And I was always kind of myself and Callaway, after we looked at Steve and what he was going to be able to do, then of course, if Callaway was on the floor, but he wasn't, I would look at him to see what he was going to do next. And then when that play broke down, we looked to go inside to Daryl or D. And that's what I did. I went into Daryl. And when they didn't have anything, the discipline, they would throw it back out. Play. And it worked out just like that. Yeah. And I remember Ron Fellings, and Ron Felling would always say, two things that he would always get on me about. If a player got the ball and I was defending, how did he get it? How did he get it? How did he get it?
Yeah.
And then the other one was don't stand. And Coach Knight always said, after you pass, don't stand. And when I made the pass, I relocated to a different place.
Yes.
However, when the ball went into Daryl, he looked at Daryl. I relocated. He came out to the position where I was. But I had already moved to another spot, and that's when Daryl threw the ball back out to me, and I was able to get the shot off. Yeah. But all those little things there. And another thing that Ron Felton would always talk about on your jump shot was jump up, shoot up.
Yeah.
Jump, shoot up. Like and I knew that situation because I had taken a shot from the other side of the basket, of the court prior to that. And I knew, I said, man, if I get another shot, I got to jump up on this thing. I got to get some arc on this ball, know. And when I got the ball back, I took that one step toward Nicholson Elementary, to the baseline, and rose up and took a jump shot and make the shot. And I went out of bounds, Wow. And the ball goes in, and right away, I didn't think of celebration. I was thinking of getting back on defense.
Back on D, I heard you screaming something when they were grabbing you behind. What were you saying?
And if you look at the video, you can see me saying, "We got one more second."
That's what it is. Okay. I ain't know you saying one more stop or 1 more second. Okay. Yeah,
1 second. They start the clock with 1 second, and I think the clock administrator did that because Syracuse never called a timeout.
Yeah, for sure.
They did, but they really did, And I said there's 1 second left, but I knew then that moment that I had seen that I played that game already, and like I said, how was I aware? I just taken the shot. I running back on defense. There's a timeout. This clock finally stopped. There's a timeout administered. And I come back and I was aware there's 1 second.
Yeah, yep.
Like I said, being in that zone, everything, you are aware of everything.
Yeah,
when I go back and look at that game, sometimes I look at the little moments where I got a rebound, push the ball. Derek Coleman is right behind me, slapping at the ball. Had he slapped that ball, it goes into the hands of Syracuse. They secured the basketball. They were already up 1, and now we probably fouled them. They go shoot a free throw and what have you, So when I came down in motion to Joe Hillman to go to the right side of the floor, and I made an undercut to go to the left side of the floor. If I would have pushed him down to the corner, and then I came out and moved the ball somewhere else, but then to wave him over and I did an undercut, so I got the ball back, and then I was able to throw it into Daryl Thomas. Yep. And I always joke with Daryl about, you didn't want to shoot that shot, man. Why didn't you want to shoot that shot? But he said, well, hey, man, and he would always say to myself and Dean as a senior, he would always get on us about things. He would say, you two silly MFs,
Yeah, right, yeah.
Little thing. And he said, that wasn't a good shot, you silly MF, he felt back out. So those little things like that, and the ball was able to come back out to me. And I remember all those things from teaching, from where I was, and that shot happened, and of all the people. And I never forget, there was a statement I was watching with one of my sons, and watching the game, and the guy said, there's a lot of McDonald's All-Americans on this floor, but there's one guy that actually worked at a McDonald's.
That's crazy, man. I mean, but you hit that shot, and even after the game, did you realize how different things were going to be for you after you made that shot?
No, I had no idea the magnitude. And again, I didn't hear any sound. Like you said, you don't hear sound. You don't hear
nothing.
I didn't hear anything again until the ball went through the net and I heard the explosion of noise. And had no idea what the moment was and what had happened. Prior to that, you had Lorenzo Charles from North Carolina State that tipped the ball in for a championship win. Jordan hit the one shot in the same, with the same jersey on, things like that. Number 20, and so all those moments that came together, I had no idea that this thing would take on a life of its own. No matter where I go, traveling a lot, I might have my name on the bag, or from coaching in the NBA and traveling, and the bags, bellhop would bring your bags to you in the hotel room, and he would see that, and he would say something to the extent, man, I remember that shot. I remember that shot, and he goes through an entire sequence of what was going on, what he was doing at his house and everything. So many people I've met, and people say, do you get tired of talking about it? I said, I don't get tired of talking about it, because when someone comes up to me to talk about it, I don't want to rain on their moment.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll talk about it with them. There was a guy that I met at the airport, and he said, Keith, I just want to tell you, man, my daughter and I were watching that game, and she kept bugging me. And I said, wait, when the game is over, I'll talk. We'll play. And he said, I tell you what, if Indiana wins this championship, I'll buy you that horse you want. Right.
Really?
So we won an opponent, and obviously we win the championship. I was doing a speaking engagement somewhere. He came out doing an autograph signing somewhere in Indiana. He came out and he said, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I met you at the airport. And I told you a story about my daughter and the horse. Well, there she is right there. So now she's probably now 17 years old now, He said, and she got the horse right there, And he said, because you made that shot, this young girl was able to get a horse,
That's amazing.
So look, I never thought it would be that way. When I went to play over in Europe, I always followed Coach Knight because he did a lot of clinics over in Europe, and they would allow me to. A lot of teams I played on over there would allow me to kind of coach the motion offense, because I had a good feel for it, and so I never thought it would be that way, And
you get a double dip though. You get how was it to play for Coach Knight, and
Right.
the shot. So
The
you
shot.
just probably in the airport like, oh, just going crazy, man. Because I know I get it. I was a play for Coach Knight. I'm out. Like I said, when I was younger, I used to be annoyed. I mean, I was young. It's like, hey, man, I just want to eat my food. But now I was like, oh, that's what keeps me relevant. Oh, let's talk about it all day then. I'm cool. So